So I told our friends, these powerful friends of ours, I've even said it publicly, when it comes to defending this country that has suffered for so long and nobody came to the help, I don't need permission from anybody to do what we have to do to protect ourselves. I've said it in broad daylight. I've said it to those who matter in this problem. And that's what is going to happen. You go home, sleep, don't do anything. There will be nothing crossing these borders of this small country of ours.
Kagame is actually one of Africa's biggest problems, because Congo is the biggest dissettlement of Africa that causes Africa never to unite. And Kagame is the reason why we've got the Congolese struggle.
The DRC, my basic understanding is that it's the wealthiest country
in Africa,
on the continent, from a mineral perspective.
In the world, yeah.
It's the wealthiest country in the world from a natural resources perspective.
100%.
And you're saying Paul Kagame has a part to play in that?
Yeah, people don't understand that we always hear about the Rwandan Genocide. The Rwandan Genocide was started by Paul Kagame. And he started the Rwandan Genocide because he wanted to take power by force in a country that would have never elected him into power, because he came from the minority Tutsis who used to be supported by the colonizer and used to be the administrators on behalf of the colonizer. So for Paul Kagame to come back as a Tutsi to come and take power in Rwanda, he needed to do something. And what he did is he started the genocide. He started the genocide by bringing down a plane that had two presidents, Hutu presidents, the Burundian president and the Rwandan president. Paul Kagame and his RFP forces shot down the plane when it was landing back in Rwanda from actually an AU meeting. And when that plane came down, then it inflamed the Hutu people who knew that they were RFP fighters who were trying to take power by force. And so they began to fight against Tutsi people who they felt wanted to come and take over power. While they were doing that, Paul Kagame himself sent his forces to murder his own Tutsi people on a whole-scale level to make it look like a genocide, so that he could then have his forces come into Rwanda and take over power militarily under the guise of stopping a genocide against Tutsis.
These are all things that are factual.
Well documented.
Jeez.
It is actually something that the International Court of Justice wanted to persecute him for. And then the Americans covered up for him and the French covered up for him so that it wouldn't come out. But Paul Kagame came into power by murdering his own people. Then when he did that, he then took Laurent Kabila, who was now living in Rwanda, to go and take over power from Mobutu Sese Seko.
These are the leaders in the DRC.
This was in the DRC. And the arrangement that he had with Mobutu is, once you're in power, you need to bring some of my own people into your system. And the reason why he wanted to bring his own people into the system is that the Tutsis see themselves as a superior people to Bantus.
You are being accused of supporting the M23 Rebels. And this has led to people saying this is causing instability in another country. What is your reaction to the critics who are saying you are behind M23 Rebels?
Yeah, I can also contextualize that for you and tell you what the problem is. Well, in fact, the president of DRC did not just say he was willing to fight Rwanda. No, he actually said he's going to fight Rwanda, and his aim is even to bring regime change. And by the way, started inviting these critics we talked about earlier, whichever way. Even they went to Kinshasa, they have met, the whole thing was, for him, he's trying to organize them, fund them, and support them to remove the government of Rwanda. That's one. So it is, and it is himself. He himself is out in the open saying it, even on camera. It's not a rumor. It's not anything. He has said it repeatedly, and to everybody, for everybody to hear. Well, you don't want to dismiss anything, but on one hand, we want to not take it seriously. He must be having issues that make him do or say that. But that's not a compliment. There are serious issues, maybe. But on the other hand, we don't want to take anything. Maybe he actually, and especially when we started seeing that he was organizing people and bringing them to Kinshasa, and that he has armed the FDLR. You know the FDLR? These are.
I know the FDLR.
Yes, he has armed them, given them everything they wanted. So he's using them to fight his wars against M23, against any other person he wishes to fight. So that starts becoming serious. We have had that serious problem of FDLR living in the DRC even before he became president. That's a different issue, but when he became the president, now he has openly and officially been associated with them and supporting them, and the aim is to cause problems here in Rwanda and along the lines FDLR is. And in fact, the fact that he embraces FDLR shows something else. And that is, and then alongside that, he has mobilized some countries, especially, I will not hesitate to mention. For example, if you see Burundi, the way it is involved in the DRC and in the fight alongside the forces of Congo against M23, it has this connotation of the history of genocide and the politics along ethnic lines and discrimination and even persecution and so on and so forth. So that's when we started seeing it as being very serious in as far as we are concerned. But also, if you look at the story of M23, before I answer the accusation that we support M23, people need to understand who the M23 are. It's not me to define them or talk about who they are. Let even independent people try and do that, and some of them have done it, as I have seen. M23, by the way, including that I asked President Tshisekedi face to face whether he recognizes M23 as Congolese, or these are people who came from somewhere else, including Rwanda, and just found themselves illegally in Congo. His answer to me, and in the presence of other leaders, was that he recognizes these as Congolese. I'm just repeating it for record. He himself says these are Congolese. I said, fine. It was important for him to clarify that. Then, so if he says that these are Congolese himself, why can't he resolve the problems of his people, of his country, and when he's a leader? It doesn't matter how he becomes a leader, whether in the first or the second. That's not my business to judge. I'm not going into that. But there are questions that maybe the world can also pay attention to.
The Tutsis see themselves as a superior people to Bantus. And so they want to reinstitute something called the Mapororo Tootsi Empire that is going to rule over Central Africa and the Great Lakes. Because if you look where they came from in Uganda, Museveni is Tutsi. And he is the one who trained together with people like Paul Kagame in Tanzania, together with our liberation fighters. And when they came from those liberation camps, then Museveni went and took power from Obote, and then he put people like Kagame and the Hutus and the Tutsis into his army and intelligence. They then started murdering non-Tutsis who wanted power in Uganda, because they were majorities. And that's how Museveni becomes the president of Uganda as a Tutsi, and then he begins to assist Kagame together with the Europeans, the Americans, to then create a force that is going to take power
Jeez.
in Rwanda. And then they must take power in Rwanda, instill a Tutsi in Burundi, and instill a Tutsi in Congo. So when they then succeeded in getting what do you call him? Kabila into power, Kabila refused to put Tutsis into his government. And when he refused, then Kagame and Museveni then sent their armies and rebels into Congo with an intention to remove Kabila. Kabila then ran to SADC. And that time SADC had an organ, or the military institution was called the organ, which was being headed by Mugabe. And he said, listen, they want to overthrow me. And he gave them the reasons why they want to overthrow. Mugabe sent a fact-finding mission that it consisted of Zambians, Namibians, Angolans, South Africans, and everybody from SADC region. And he realized that this was actually a problem. So they went to Uganda, they went to Rwanda, they couldn't find Museveni when they went to Uganda, they couldn't find Kagame when they went to Rwanda, but they got information that there was going to be an overthrow of Kabila, and then the UN was going to be forced to actually come up with a policy that says Congo must be broken down into 5 countries.
Jeez.
The 5 countries would then be easier to loot for the West through Uganda, Rwanda, and their own people that they would have placed within the Congolese system. Then Zambia and Zimbabwe came up with a counter proposal, but they also sent their armies of the Namibians and the Angolans to go and stop Kagame from overthrowing Kabila. They were able to repel Kagame and Museveni's troops.
We are under attack. We are being attacked by people that don't care about human life, that don't care about Congolese, but they only care about the resources that we possess. We are under attack by the so-called M23 that say they're coming to protect one tribe. Congo possesses 450 tribes, but the motive is to protect one tribe. That is very ironic. But we are under attack because we've been blessed by many resources that are powering your electronic, mobile phone, laptops, your electric car. We are under attack so that you can continue enjoying this. Rwanda and his masters, they are attacking us. They're killing us, and they're not going to stop. Our land is being attacked because our government doesn't care. We ask you, wherever you are, pray for us. Pray for us. If you pray, if you're a Christian, if you are other faith, pray for us.
Congolese army vehicles head to the front lines on the outskirts of Goma. Fighting against the M23 armed group has been intensifying in the east. Congolese officials accuse Rwanda of backing M23, but Kigali has denied involvement.
Indeed, Rwanda is determined to seize the city of Goma, but our valiant patriots, supported by regional and UN peacekeepers, are determined to defend the town of Goma tooth and nail to repel the enemy, which has already been done, and why not to drive them out of the national territory?
Regional peacekeepers and UN forces have been heavily involved in the combat. Several have been killed and injured. The UN is now temporarily relocating all non-essential personnel from Goma, but thousands of people seeking refuge from the fighting are still streaming into the city. The UN says 400,000 people have been displaced since the start of the year.
We have been hearing bombs for 3 hours. We, the population, are scared and worried because we don't know where to flee to. We ask the government to do everything possible to send soldiers to the lines to see how to drive out the enemy.
We are so afraid when we see the numbers of dead and wounded among the military coming from the front. We want the government to mobilize the military so that peace can return.
Conflict in the eastern DRC has been ongoing for decades. Multiple attempts at ceasefires have failed. And for those still trying to find safety, that peace appears to be a long way off.